How long do you want me to talk? All right, thanks everyone for coming. I get the privilege of introducing the next speaker, Jen York. I've known Jen for a very long time. I'm her mother. You can thank me later. She's come a long way since the young girl who forgot to take the cardboard off of a pizza when she put it in the oven.
Totally.
Or the call I got asking me, how do you open the can of crescent rolls? She was afraid it would explode. So I'm very proud of my daughter. I'm also just a little bit afraid of her. She has taken on anything and everything that she comes up with. She's tenacious. She's gone from wanting to be a pilot, almost becoming an astrophysicist, and now her main focus is information security and cybersecurity. So watch out, world. I introduce to you my daughter, Jen.
Yay! Thank you, Mom. And yeah, it's like totally true. She forgot to tell me that you have to take the cardboard off. She said open it and put it in the oven. So we're going to go with instructions. And dude, seriously, who is not afraid of opening a can of crescent rolls? Because, dude, come on. All right, so anyways, we're down at the last talk of the day. Thank you for sticking with me. As you can see on the screens, you're here for Hacking to Save Christmas. Yep. Okay, all right. So you're probably wondering, oh, turn on. We'll go that route. So you're probably wondering, who on earth is this gal standing in front of me? Well, let's get this. Maybe. There we go. Oop, back one. Oh, I was waiting on the video to go. But the video's not going to want to work. Anyways, on the video, it's actually a GIF of me dressed up in my inflatable T-Rex costume, chasing that poor little girl off of her bus on the first day of school. So anyways, I'm Jen York. I'm a managed service provider here in Des Moines. I kind of deal with just the little guys in the legal and healthcare sectors. But in the past, I've been an aerospace engineer and an astrophysicist. I say I'm kind of recovering because you never really leave those fields, you recover. So I'm really good at banging my head against brick walls to solve problems because, hey, that's what it is. If you want to be social media friends, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and GitHub. And I don't have any fancy letters after my name. Sorry, it's just kind of out of the budget. But when I was an aerospace engineer, in my little picture there, that is me blowing up a balloon full of hydrogen. So, you know, hey, physics, explosions, off we go. So, warning, there are going to be memes and puns ahead. So, none of these I created. I stole them from the internet. I tried to leave artist credits where I found them. So, if I'm missing any, let me know, because I'd kind of like to leave the credits in place. But, anyways, what we're going to have is, this is a story all about how I showed up for a conference and I got a whole lot more than I bargained for. So, you guys just sit right there and I will tell you a story about how I hacked to save the North Pole. And if you got that joke, I love you. We are best friends. All right, so to start out, what we're going to go over is the SANS holiday hack from 2018. Now, if you've done them before, they typically have terminal challenges and objectives. Your terminal challenges give you hints for the objectives. Now, this one they did a little bit different. It's kind of more of a conference that they called KringleCon. There were talks to attend. There were avatars to create. This is mine. I was quite proud of it. But with this, you had objectives. And in this, there are 10 objectives. We only have an hour. I'm not going to go through all 10. There are some amazing write-ups that I have links to at the end, if you want to look at those. We're going to focus on the last 4, sorry. We're going to go over badge manipulation, HR incident response, network traffic forensics, and we're going to go over ransomware recovery. I'm going to let you decide who was behind it all. It's not too hard. So, are we ready? Let's hack all the things. So, to start off, we're going to have badge manipulation. In this one, this is a SQL injection challenge. As you can see here, you're kind of given a few hints. that, you know, someone needs access, that there's a badge that you can go through, or a badge that there's a sample. So let's start in. So with your hints, you're given a couple here that tells you, hey, here's a link to a SQL injection page, and here's how you create your QR code. All right? You would think. All right, so here's the sample badge. This is what we're working from. And this is the device we have to hack. Now, the fun thing is these are all PNG files that we had to upload, unless you were really crafty to use the fingerprint scanner or the camera. I didn't either. So, right? Who doesn't Google their problems on this? I'm like, dude, SQL injection challenge? Oh, man. So, to start off, I started creating some just, you know, basic SQL injection commands, putting them into my QR code and uploading them. I did it more times than I care to admit. But as you went through it, you could get some really descriptive error message, as you can see down below. Oh, man, that's like gold, right? So we run with that, and we go, all right. So took me more times to get there. This was the code that I used. I know it is not perfect. There are a million other ways to do it. And it took me longer than I care to admit that, you know, that little hashtag at the end to comment out the rest. Yeah. Because it took me forever to realize on the bottom there, yeah, when you put in your code there, your SQL injection, it actually fits in that string. So, hey, #, hack, right? Hey, we needed a code. And there it was. Now, on the write-ups, people were like taking it offline and doing all these other ways. Hey, you do what you do, right? So after that, the next one that we're up to is HR incident response. Now in this one, we're supposed to gain access to a website. All right. You can see that we need to fetch this candidate evaluation.docx. Awesome. When we get that, we're looking for some specific information, an applicant whose name starts with K, and a terrorist organization that he's associated with. All right. So we start off, here's our hints that they gave us. There was a talk on CSV injections, as well as the OWASP page. So we look at that. Hey, I was hoping for a password or something. Yeah, no. So in here, we pull up the page. So the first thing I did was I went to the web page itself, which is on the top left. I'm like, all right, looks simple enough. Let's just see if I can pull up the document itself and see if it's already in the public folder. Yeah, no. But if you look at that error message, it says, hey, look, there is a public folder where it might be. So next step we go back to that page. What do they need for us to submit? How much information do I have to give them? So on this one, I did nothing. And the only warning I get, yeah, you need a CSV file. So, all right, perfect. We know where to start. So I went back to the talk and kind of listened through it and read through, and I'm like, all right, SQL injection or CSV injection. So in the talk, he kind of went over just kind of some generic commands that you can do. So this is what I did. And the idea is, you know, you upload this, you go to the specific site that you created, and you should download it, right? Right? So here's the site, and it took about 10 to 15 minutes, and then finally, I had a docx download. And I was like, holy cow. So as you can see here, the applicant we were looking for that starts with K, his name is Krampus, and his terrorist organization is the Fuzzy Beaver. So, and I'm like, man. I'm like, isn't there a movie about that, something Christmas type? So after that, we come to the network traffic forensics. This one was the fun one for me because it's all about the PCAPs. There is a packalizer that we need to gain access to and see and, you know, sniff some credentials. So with the hints that came with this is how to decrypt HTTP2. All right, doesn't sound so bad. Let's see. So we go and look at the site. On the left there, you see kind of just like the basic login screen. Doesn't look too bad. Went ahead and registered an account because I didn't see any other way through. So in doing that, you get to the upper right there which is the kind of like the dashboard that you get. You can sniff some traffic, it's about 30 seconds at a time, and you can download your PCAPs, which is what I did down here. So when I open it up, like, hey, all right, there's traffic, we're good. But as you can see, there's TLS and TCP. We need to decrypt this traffic. So in order to do that, we have to find where these SSL keys are saved. And the hint we're given is that the Packlyzer was rushed into development. So we go back to the page, and this is a screenshot that I took from someone who presented because his was a lot better than mine. So we go in and look at it, and we pull the code for this, and we see the comment there that there's an app.js. So one of the hints kind of tells us that there is some development code that's stored in the web root. So maybe this is what we're looking for. So we pull this up, and all right, awesome. We can look at it. We see a constant that says dev mode equals true. So we know we're in dev mode. We also see another one that talks about the keylog path and gives you a couple or a couple places where it could be saved. And then you see at the very bottom that that keylog is there to like debug the traffic. So that to me kind of says, all right, that's what we need to look for. And in one of these hints, they told us that you can manipulate the URLs and the website, and that's going to give you some more descriptive error messages. So in looking at it, I played around and I finally found this URL here. I found this worked, I didn't get an error, and I was rewarded with SSL keys. So I was like, all right, we're perfect. We are cooking with gas here. Let's go do this. But there's a catch. You have to grab those keys within a minute of you grabbing that PCAP because they update. Took me about 30 minutes to sort that out. And when I finally did, this is a different PCAP here because it took me a while to get that all worked out, I was able to decrypt the traffic. And as you can see down below, I got credentials. Now I need, one of these two had to be an admin. And so all right, we try him. Alabaster was my admin. So I got really lucky. And when I logged back in under his credentials, under saved PCAPs, there was a super secret packet capture. So, all right, we know we need to look for an email that comes from Holly to Alabaster in here. So we go and we filter it for SMTP traffic. Eventually, we're looking for the email, and you can search through, and there were some more filters that you can put in. So, but down at the bottom, I could see where there was the beginning of an email message. And so I went and I followed the stream, and I got it all put together, and I'm like, all right, awesome, I got this. And I'm like, no, I don't, because it's an attachment, and it's in BASIC, it's base 64 encoded. Like, okay. So we go and decode this, and you're rewarded with a PDF. It's a couple pages, but on the second page, you can see one, there's the song that you're kind of looking for, and it's also talking about transposing music. That kind of fits at the end that we won't go over today, but so perfect. Then this brings us to objective 9. This one was like the mother of all objectives because as you can see, there are 4 different steps to it. The whole overarching goal is ransomware recovery, but you have to catch the malware, you have to identify the domain, you have to stop the malware, and then you have to recover a password. So what that tells us is 1, we're going to be looking at PCAPs. We need to find out where that malware is coming from, where it's communicating. 2, we need to identify the domain it's coming from. 3, we need to find a kill switch. Wasn't there a CNN article about that somewhere? There's a kill switch for, ransomware, right? And then we have to unencrypt a file that's been encrypted by ransomware. So, all right. On this, there are a ton of hints that came with it. So we know we're going to have memory strings. There was a talk on malware reverse engineering with PowerShell. Then we also have dropper download, ransomware kill switches, and public and private key exchanges. So that's a lot, but we'll get through it. So to start out with the first part, we have to catch the malware. You log into the terminal here, and you see, all right, it's a snort IDS sensor. I had never but that was snort much for this. So this was a lot of fun. So in this, when I looked at it, I saw the more info.txt. So I'm like, let's start there. So when we look at it, it gives us a lot of information. It tells us how to test our rules. It tells us, you know, where the traffic is saved. But what it also tells us is that there are PCAPs that you can download offline, and it gives you the credentials for that. So I'm like, oh, awesome. I started there because, you know, PCAPs are nothing, or PCAPs are didn't happen. So when I pull this down, this is an example of one of them. And it's all DNS traffic. Ransomware typically communicates over DNS. So as you're looking through this, you see a lot of really noisy domains. And your goal is to create a snort rule that's going to catch all the malware and only the malware. So there's some Amazon there, there's some Yahoo, but you see some really noisy ones that have a bunch of numbers and some random letters after that. So the goal with this is to find the one thing that the one thing that you can use to like catch all of these. Now, if you look at it now, it looks like a mess. But if you look, all of the ones that come from ransomware have a number associated with it. Within that number, you see 77616E and so on. And it's with every single one of them. It's like getting smacked in the face when you realize that the first time. I'm not kidding. So we go through, and up here is the snort rule that I created. And it took me a while to realize that you kind of have to have the SID there, because, yeah, you have to pick one. So I got to make up one, and then we run it, and right, we caught all of the malware. So we got step 1 done. Step 2, we're given a zip file. And what this is this is a zip file that was emailed out to all the domain there that was opened right before the ransomware hit. So I did what you were never supposed to do. I opened it. Now I created my own VM just for this, just to be on the safe side. And look, all right, it's just a Word doc for cookies. Who doesn't like cookies? How horrible could this be? But you also see it's a docm. So there might be some macros running around in here. So one of the tools that I used for that was a loveba. You can use that to kind of pull VBA macros out of Word doc files. So as you can see here, I ran the command with it, and down below, we are told, hey, look, there's some PowerShell code here. Now we're not done from here. This is in a VBA macro format, so there's a few things that need to be removed, but the big kicker here is on that first line, you see IEX, and what that means in PowerShell is invoke expression, which means when that runs, it's going to be grabbing more PowerShell. So we need to get more. So what we do is we copy and paste that into PowerShell. We take out the VBA escape stuff for the quotations and put it in the right format. And then at the very end, we also take out the IEX, but we also tell it to write to a file. We do out-file. And that creates a file with what scripts that PowerShell is grabbing. So when we do that and it's saved, we pull the type of that file. Well, we got two things. First thing, when we pull that type of that file, there's a domain there. Arrowhead Fanu. All right, so that's the domain we need. But at the same time, we also see at the very end of that, there's another IEX. So that means this is pulling down some more PowerShell. Well, we know we got more to do with this. So we have our domain, and we move on to the next one. So we follow the same process. We copy and paste that PowerShell. We, take out some of the extra stuff, and we run out-file on that again, save it, and then we open the type. And look at that. We have a whole mess of ransomware. Now, this is just the minified version. There was a full version that you could get. I mainly did my work off of the minified version because I was lazy. But this is really hard to read, right? I'm like, there's a lot of stuff here. So I threw it in Visual Studio, kind of cleaned it up, opened it up in PowerShell ISE, and started running through it. At the very end of the script, you see that it's calling a function called wonk. Well, in the unminified version, that's want a cookie. So that's the one that we need to start with. As you can see in the first two lines, it has a random key there, But look at all those functions it's putting it through. H2B, G2B, H2A. So it's putting it through a lot of different encodings and everything. And that ends up being, that's our kill switch domain, because you can see it goes to look for it, see if it's active. Well, in the reverse engineering the reverse engineering malware talk, the guy was talking about using the malware, the code itself, use it what you're given. So we start there. We need to get this kill switch domain. So a couple adjustments, you comment out most of that wonk function, you leave that first line alone, and on that second line, instead of the if, you do a write dash output. You run it in PowerShell and look at that. Yippee-ki-yay! Oh, who knew? But we know we still have to try and recover the password. So that means we still have to unencrypt some files. So this is where you have to really, really understand your malware. So this is where you go through, you read it, you figure out what all of your functions are doing, because that's going to tell you exactly what it's doing, how it's encrypting your files, how it's keeping them encrypted, how it's looking for if the ransom is paid. But as we're going through and we're seeing this, we see that it has a public key and a private key. The public key is encrypted with a byte key, and then that is sent to verify. But the byte key is removed from memory. So, all right, that's gone. But what you can do is, again, you can edit the malware and you can get the private key, which is what I did here. So we're halfway there. We still need the public key so we can do this. So you play around and you kind of think about it, you look through values, and we step through. So again, I was sticking with the same theme that we're just using the malware author's code against itself. So with this, we kind of step through, comment out a bunch of stuff. We know that the value we're looking for is the public key encrypted key. In the minified version here, it's the PKEK. So as we're stepping through it in PowerShell ISE, we get through to where we pull the value. We can look and see, at least in this instance, what the value is. And when we're looking at that, we see it's all hex characters. So that kind of gives us a clue. But when we look at the length, it's 512 bytes long. Now at this point, we are given a memory dump. So we can go through and look through things. So we pull up PowerDump, and we search for a variable that is 512 bytes long and is hex characters. And lo and behold, in that memory dump, there is one variable. So we are golden. That is our public key encrypted key. So now the fun stuff. Most people I know they ran a PowerShell script or they ran a Python script. I went to OpenSSL because that was what came to me first. I know that's not the easiest route. As you can see, I kind of had some mistakes along the way, but I was eventually able to get that public key unencrypted and pull out the byte key. The very end, it's 32 bytes long, and that was the key that you need to get it done. Now this part here probably took me a day and a half, maybe, to go through and play. I was like, learning the PowerShell and going through that wasn't the hard part. It was getting it all unencrypted. So I went back to my code, my ransomware, and again, changed it up just a little bit. I gave it the key that it needed. I told it where the document was saved that I needed unencrypted, and I ran it, right? Ooh, big scare, right? But hey, I had my file unencrypted. I was sitting with a database instead of this one-a-cookie file. But when I was able to open it, there are all my passwords. Everything that I was needing. And even a few that could have helped in earlier challenges too. And so it's like, oh man, we just reverse engineered some PowerShell, some malware, some ransomware. Like, all right. But that was it, because that's what we're going over today. So I know I did not run even close to the time to be done, but I have some totes legit links for you, courtesy Tom Pohl. But up here are some of the links that I used, as well as some of the links to the people that wrote up challenges that did amazing. I did not do a write-up on this, although I completed everything. I was just kind of, I was too tired. I was done at that point. But when you complete everything, Alabaster the elf says, "Yay, you won!" So that is all I have for now. Do you guys have any questions, comments? I saw you first. I did it over the span of about 5 days. So the help desk god smiled on me, and I didn't have any crazy things to where I could kind of focus on it. The SQL injection took me the longest because, you know, I usually go to like Pentest Mucky and find the cheat sheet there for SQL injection, and none of those worked. So I had to go back and like actually read the OWASP page and go through it, but it took about a week. So.
How was the chocolate chip cookie recipe? Was it worth it?
You know, I don't know if that chocolate chip cookie recipe is worth it or not, because I have yet to try it. I was a little scared because it turned out to be ransomware.
I know, but if it was a really good recipe, it might have been worth it.
You know, we'll have to try that and bring it to one of the meetings and test that out and see. So any others? Anybody else have it?
I saw on your last slide with the decoded vault,
Yes.
there was a song on there.
Uh-huh.
What was it? Did you?
That song actually goes through, like, the challenge after this was a piano lock that you had to do. So that was kind of for the next one. But the whole thing was, it was the right tune, but in the wrong key. That's why there was that, the transposing music. And so, but I kind of left that out, so I wasn't going to, you know, bore too many people with a piano lock. So, yeah. Well, if that's it, I will let you guys run free and go finish the CTF or go heckle somebody else. Thank you.